Assalamualaikum and good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining TeaTalk at MCMC, MCMC Knowledge Sharing Platform. So thank you to our online attendees and also our physical attendees as well for joining us for this morning knowledge sharing session. And I would like to remind all MCMC staff that this morning session is open to the public as well. I would like to welcome our speaker for today, Puan Mediha Mahmud, CEO of the Content Forum, as she's going to share with us a TeaTalk knowledge sharing session entitled Spill the Tea, What's New with Malaysia's Content Code. So for all MCMC staff, as you all are accustomed to this, I'm going to pass on the microphone to Puan Mediha after this, and she will share with us her knowledge on content codes. And during the sharing session, she's going to throw away some sort of like a pop quiz questions to physical attendees only, where the 3 physical attendees will each win RM10 ringgit e-wallet, whoever that gets the questions right. And later on, there's going to be a Q&A session where if you have any questions to ask to Puan Mediha further, for our online attendees, you can actually drop the questions at the chat box. And for physical attendees, as usual, feel free to engage and ask further questions during the Q&A session. And later on, it will be followed with the online Kahoot quiz session. So without further ado, and I'm also very excited to invite Puan Mediha Mahmud, the CEO of the Content Forum. Dipersilakan, Puan.
Okay. Hi, thank you so much for the introduction and Assalamualaikum and good morning. So I'm very happy to be here in MCMC, not just because we're friends, but also neighbors, but also because this is very much central on what we're doing this year, and that is to update our content code. So what we're going to do today is just going to be a conversation. To those of you online, if you have any questions, please do ask us, because this is something that would affect both you and everyone else out there. The first thing is I would like to just start on, where am I pointing this? Kejap. Hold on, yeah. Okay. So the first one is to just tell you a little bit about the content code, because the content code is something that is supposed to be a point of reference for anyone who does content. Am I allowed to step on this platform? Boleh? Okay. Because katakanlah, let's say you are a media person and you want to cover stories about children. There's actually one particular thing in the Child Act that tells you how do you report about children who are involved in crime. Whether they are victims or they are perpetrators or they are witnesses, there are rules about it, but it's buried somewhere in the Child Act. Similarly, let's say you want to do a documentary or you want to do content about someone. How do you know that you are not crossing the boundaries into defamation? That's under the Defamation Act. So in Malaysia, there are many laws governing content. What the Content Code does is that it includes all these laws and things without legal justification either, because they are gray, into the Content Code. And this Content Code, if you scan what you see, or if you look at it, those of you who are here, there are copies. This was last revamped or reviewed in 2022. So the question then comes, why are we doing this now? Simply because in 2022, walaupun we thought we did everything already, we had rules about jangan exploit agama dalam iklan. We had rules about influencers. We had rules about ethical suicide reporting. But we looked at the years that came after that. In 2023, there was a whole AI explosion. ChatGPT, deepfake, synthetic media, things that we didn't even predict we could do before. We're now doing things in a much more efficient way because of AI, but because of AI also there are opportunities for it to be exploited and abused. We also see increased child safety concerns. We also see increase of hate speech and extremism online. And these are the things that also spilled over in 2024, where the government, in their wisdom, amended the Communications and Multimedia Act. And this is the kind of legislation that affects the content code, and we need to make sure that it is then aligned. So 2025, we're developing the updated content code, hopefully again, future-proofing self-regulation, but I predict that there are going to be other changes. And the good thing about the content code is that we can adapt to those changes very easily. So how do we future-proof self-regulation while balancing innovation and consumer protection? First off, let me just share with those of you who may not be familiar with the Content Forum. If you see on screen, and you can see here, is those are now our currently our members. You will see familiar logos, ada broadcasters, ada advertisers, ada telcos. You also have associations like the Women's Organization, the National Union of Teachers, teaching profession. We also have TikTok, who joined us last year, and several others. But the code may stem from the industry. They are the ones who trigger what needs to be done or what should be filled in for the gaps. But we also take into consideration input from parents, from educators, from civil society advocates, and now we're trying to get information from everyday users. People like you and me, public consultation, this is where you have a role or you can participate in policy making. Sebab bila kita cakap pasal content, we all have opinions. We all have opinions about what we think is obscene or indecent or annoying. This is your opportunity or our opportunity to actually develop policies addressing this. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go through certain key focus areas in the content code. As you can see, there's quite a bit, but I'll take you through more of a bird's eye view lah, because if you want to go through the whole thing, even the public consultation report pun over 100 pages. But this is a conversation that hopefully triggers for you a thought about what you think we're doing right, or what you think should be added in, or what you think we'll be missing out. So the first one is alignment with developments in law. The whole point of the content code is to make sure that we give clearer guidance, ethical benchmarks, and best practices that evolve with how content is created and shared today. So what happened is that there have been changes to the Communications and Multimedia Act, and that's quite a bit, but we go through it one by one. First up, indecent content. Throughout the years, we have seen people complaining about indecent content ataupun kandungan yang tidak sopan. First picture is Farah N. Award-winning gold medalist. Every time dia masuk competition, people akan kecam. All because of what she's wearing. Never fails. Dia menang silver ke, dia menang gold ke, there will be people out there who says, tak tutup aurat, nampak lurah, all sorts of stuff lah. This was considered kurang sopan to a lot of people. And then when we explain to them that this is the legit formal official attire for gymnasts to wear in these competitions, they don't care. Dia akan keluarkan juga the statements that says this is considered indecent content. Second picture, this was a complaint that we got quite a while ago lah. This was a sports newscaster in one of our local broadcasters. As you can see, she's wearing jeans and she's wearing long sleeves tapi midriff. As you can see also, dia jadi hal because people say, apa nak jadi berita sukan atau berita lucah? MCMC tak pantau ni. MCMC je kena, no matter what. Orang pakai apa pun, MCMC je kena. So for this particular case, the Complaints Bureau under CMCF, after discussing, decided that this does not fall within the definition of lucah. Tak sampai ke tahap tu. Sebab kita kena fikir, when we use the content code, or when you use CFA section 233, when we talk about lucah, it has to be something that justifies MCMC as a regulator going through the entire process, buka FIR, buat investigation, bawa pergi court. Berbaloi atau tidak? Ataupun sampai ke tahap tu atau tidak? That is one of the discussion. Third picture, siapa kenal? Semua tak kenal? Oh, Bapa tak kenal. Okay. Tak kenal. Okay, this was controversy masa anugerah juara lagu. AJL ni, what happened was, usually AJL you akan pakai seglamour yang mungkin lah. Now, he was not performing. Dia bukan artis. Tetapi dia penonton. Dan dia dan kawan-kawan dia go all out lah in their outfit. Tetapi, walaupun TV3 tak pancarkan mereka, images all over social media lah. So the discussion was, tetamu lelaki menyerupai wanita di AJL, TV3 mohon maaf, janji perkara sama tidak akan berulang. But the question is, how do you blame TV3 sebenarnya? Sebab dia tak paparkan diorang ni. Diorang tak naik stage pun. Even for their live broadcast, dia tak tunjuk pun. It's a social media. Dia macam ni lah, kalau kita buat majlis kenduri kahwin, tetamu datang pakai shorts. Adakah kita patut dipersalahkan? But that was the issue here. So, under the content code, Indecent content is material which is offensive, morally improper, and against current standards of accepted behavior. So inilah the latest amendments. So latest amendments now align with what the Content Code has said all along. Not everything that shows the human body is indecent. So kalau you imagine, dalam akta, dalam Content Code pun kata, even nudity ada exceptions dia. Even nudity can be used if it's educational, artistic, or scientific, asalkan tak excessive and not exploitative. So if that is the threshold, baju-baju tadi mungkin memang tak sampai lah. But what's changed here is that aside of the akta mirroring the Content Code, we added one more thing, which is contemporary performances. Kalau kita tengok exception sekarang, things like programs on sex education, that's considered educational. Things like kalau you tengok movies yang dia pergi, you see the background of museums, ada Renaissance paintings, some of them are undressed. Boleh, it's considered under artistic. For travelogue showing Greek statues, pun kadang-kadang you see, as long as you're not focusing on the private part, not excessive, not explicit, it's not considered indecent. Now we've added contemporary performances of films exploring themes like body image or self-acceptance. Semua ni kena buat in a non-sexual manner lah. So if it's a pornography, obviously it's still considered tak boleh. That's not just indecent, that's illegal. Moving on daripada indecent content, we go to obscene content. So obscene content ni, previously we were very much based on sort of vague moral-based judgments. So we want it to be clearer with more practical principles. So here we say that obscene content is material which by reason of its explicit or offensive representation of sexual activity or sexual conduct is likely to cause offense to a reasonable adult and has the tendency to deprave and corrupt those whose minds are open to such communication. So this new definition ties obscenity, explicit to explicit or offensive depictions of sexual activity. And the key question is whether it's likely to cause offense to a reasonable adult. So we now list down also upper category or what are the criteria for us to decide if content is considered obscene. Number one, the nature and the explicitness of the depiction, the context, the setting, and the purpose of the content, the likely audience, including the potential access by children, and finally, all the relevant Malaysian laws, Penal Code, Sexual Offences Against Children Act, and all the other applicable legislation. So practical example of this is, kalau you tengok drama, selalu Korean drama pun sekarang dah ada, the entire drama is fine, tapi bila dia finally bertemu ataupun dia habis gaduh, dia falling in love, then there is a kissing scene, fade out. That's fine. Tak sampai ke tahap obscene content. But if there are multiple scenes of seduction or sexual activity and the drama is rated U, then cannot. That's considered to be obscene content. Because you look at the categories or the regards or the considerations, yang tu dah melanggar because if you look at the likely audience of people who watch content categorized as U, it would include children. All right, so that's obscene content. Now we go from offensive to grossly offensive. Yang ni menarik sebab bila akta tu dipinda, jelik dah tak cukup, dia kena jelik melampau. The question became for us, how do you define jelik melampau? So we did the research and we have looked at the paperwork for the akta punya pindaan. So we now focus on a material where a majority of reasonable members of the public would regard as grossly offensive. Bukan melampau lagi. Jelik melampau. Bukan melampau. Bukan jelik, jelik melampau. Contohnya, kes Alif Syukri. Kes Alif Syukri ni dia buat, setiap raya dia ada video lah. Dia akan release dia punya raya song. So this particular raya song, ada adegan di mana the man were dressed in super tight, colourful baju Melayu dan dia buat tarian lah. Dan tarian tu dikira sebagai menjelikkan untuk sesetengah pihak. Dan kes ini terbelah dibawa ke mahkamah. It went to court and the court decided that it was not jelik. So kalau dia tak jelik melampau lah. So the category now for offences under the CMA is jelik melampau. So content which is in bad taste or kita rasa macam menjengkelkan, that's not considered grossly offensive content. Tak sampai ke tahap jelik melampau. How do you determine this? there are several assessment factors. We look at the social and political context. We look at the communicator's authority or influence. We look at the intent of the message, the language or form used, the extent of dissemination, and the likelihood of imminent harm. These are the assessments. Tapi, what does it look like? What is considered grossly offensive or jelik melampau? Number one, hate speech. Dalam content code dah ada dah. We already have hate speech. But here we've extended it to include discriminatory content that denigrate, defames, devalues, or incite hatred, hostility, discrimination, or violence towards a person or group based on protected characteristics. If you look at the content code, list of protected characteristics tu banyak. But now we've added descent, ethnic origin, age, disability, and other protected status. The reason why is, masa kita buat public review awal tahun ni, we received quite a bit of feedback from advocates, from human rights advocates lah. Sebab the migrant community, the refugee community was experiencing a lot of hate speech targeted against them. So we want to deal with that. We also include in hate speech any content that spreads misinformation, distortion, or partial truth that has the effect of promoting division, marginalization, or hostility towards such groups. Contohnya ada TikTok account yang jangan carilah TikTok account ni, but it's a TikTok account that dia panggil pemburu Rohingya. So what they do is they encourage people to go out there at weekends, night time, to cari Rohingyans and attack them lah. Yeah, why? Yeah, precisely why. So this is something that would definitely fall under hate speech. And it also includes at the bottom there, use of strong or crude language or explicit sexual references. This one usually for online gender-based violence. For women, generally the attacks go towards that. Tetapi ada exception dia. Exception is legitimate expression because freedom of speech is still alive and well in Malaysia. Criticism, satire, parody, or public interest commentary that does not intentionally incite hostility or does not target individuals or groups solely on the basis of the protected characteristics shall not be considered hate speech. It may be a very strong opinion about something, or it could be a parody or satire, and it's clearly a parody satire, semua tu boleh. And any communication made in good faith is not grossly offensive as long as it's statements of fact that's true and in some substance. Tadi I discuss dengan my team, nak kasih contoh sebenarnya for public interest commentary. I hope it's safe. Anyway, you know kan masa very recently where President of US arrived in Malaysia and then dia disambut oleh dancers and then he danced. And then our PMX also danced with him for a bit. So the public commentary on that was fascinating if you look. Sesetengah pihak kata PMX patutnya tak payah berjoget sekali. He should have just stood there in respect for, they say, the Palestinian cause. The other side will argue, no, this is separate. This is soft diplomacy at work. The PMX is the host. He is welcoming the President of the United States. He is well within his right to do that. That is legitimate expression. You have the freedom to say all that. Tetapi if you go and say, attack PMX on the basis of his characteristics, if your comment is sebagai lelaki Melayu Islam, and then you attack, that would be hate speech. Apa tak? Is it? So legitimate expressions of opinion is fine, but the moment you attack the person for their characteristics is not fine. Sama dengan politicians. Zaman dulu, siapa? Menteri Wanita yang power? Rafidah Aziz. Yes, Rafidah Aziz was a very powerful kid. They all call her Iron Lady. Kan masa tu? So you want to comment on her politics, her opinions, boleh. If you defame her, she can take action against you lah. But if you comment on her as a woman, if you attack her because she's a woman, falls under hate speech. Okay? And another thing that falls under jelik melampau is violent content, which is excessive or used to target or threaten minority groups or vulnerable groups. So that is grossly offensive. Menacing content. Menacing content, in BM it's kandungan yang mengancam. Dulu, the definition of kandungan yang mengancam included causing annoyance. I'm an easily annoyed person. So if it was up to me, so many things would fall under the content code. But because that term lacked legal clarity, it also led to challenges for enforcement. It also led to challenges for content creators. They're very uncertain. Apa yang dia boleh buat untuk tidak annoy orang. Because like it or not, annoying content gets the clicks lah. You know, I can name at least 3 influencers out there who I find extremely annoying, but that doesn't mean that they are menacing or mengancam. So the revised definition has extended the material to causing harassment, intimidation, or distress, threatening serious harm to individuals or communities, or encouraging or incites crime or leads to public disorder. Contoh-contohnya, examples that are cited in the content code, threats of asset attacks. Obviously, that is menacing. Doxing of personal information, also considered menacing. False bomb threats, that's definitely menacing. And anything that incites racial violence. Those are all clear examples of what is considered kandungan mengancam ataupun menacing content. And this one is finally on hate propaganda. Sama juga, you cannot, dulu kita kata we cannot have any content that advocates or promotes genocide or hatred against an identifiable group. Sekarang kita extend to things that enable it. Sebab, if you look at the example I gave you just now, online, if you indirectly encourage or you help people to spread violence or incite hate, that would fall under hate propaganda. We've also clarified the protection to include race, ethnicity, religion, etc. And the expanded illustrations also include sekiranya kita, if we blame a particular group for societal problems, yang tu kita selalu tengok, nanti akan kasih contoh lah. But this is where an identifiable group is used as a way to say that this issue, okay, this is an example. 2017, there was a case where ada kisah langgar lari on a highway, and this person who did it, yang melanggar lari itu, was found to have had, of all things, kad OKU. Selepas itu, even now in 2025, when there is an accident, kalau you tengok dekat the news punya portals, netizen akan bertanya, kejap lagi mesti keluar kad OKU. Ni mesti orang OKU. So this is an identifiable group under disability. So if they start saying things like, kita tidak membenarkan, or there's a group that says we don't want OKU card holders to be on our roads. If they say, if you see them in the road, or if you see their car park at the sticker OKU, we need to give them a sign that we don't want them on the road. This is what is directly encouraging or helping to spread violence or hate online. So that is something that would be falling under hate propaganda. Okay. And last kali, the bullet there is coordinating campaigns encouraging mass online harassment, especially against vulnerable communities. This one, we see a lot of things happening when they target women, especially young girls. So contohnya, Ain Husniza, if you remember, she is the girl behind the Safe School campaign. So if there is a coordinated attack or campaign to say, let's get her off the internet, this would fall under hate propaganda. All right, and before we go here, I'd just like to introduce you to my colleague Mawa. Mawa will be doing the question for the, apa dia panggil?
The pop quiz for the
pop
physical
quiz.
attendees.
Yes, so those who are here, if you answer the question, you get 10 ringgit, e-wallet, and also a goodie bag from the content forum. It's also a chance for me to take a drink. Pilih satu. Dia ada 3 je soalan. Alah, Mike. Orang online walaupun dia tak boleh participate, janganlah pulaukan terus.
All right, so we'll see first hands up lah. So the question, only for physical participants, sorry, online participants. So the first question is, what's one key principle of the content code? I'll read all 4 answers dulu . The first answer is to encourage freedom without limits. Second, balance between freedom and responsibility. C, promote content censorship. And D, prioritize industry growth. Yes. Second one, balance between freedom and responsibility. Correct. Aina? Yes, a good debate. Thank you.
Thank you. Laju dia jawab. So fast. Okay. So now we move on sebab kita dah cakap banyak pasal hate propaganda, hate speech. This is a part in the content code that we're introducing, inclusivity, vulnerable communities and human rights. So particular attention to groups, vulnerable communities ni defined as groups who may face greater risk of harm, discrimination or unequal treatment due to personal, social or economic circumstances. Okay. Protecting migrants and non-citizen communities. Selalunya, ramai orang yang tak nampak beza di antara migrants, immigrants, refugees, stateless persons or undocumented persons. Undocumented persons ni boleh juga termasuk mereka yang dilahirkan di Malaysia but their father is not Malaysian, they don't have documents. So they are included as well. But a lot of times, the media especially will portray all of these people under one category sahaja. They will just say migrant ataupun refugee ataupun parti dan sebagainya tanpa memberikan konteks to why they are what they are or who they are. So we've seen headlines like these lah. 2 lelaki termasuk warga Rohingya ditahan curi kabel. Kenapa termasuk warga Rohingya tu perlu letak dalam headline? What is the intention of specifying that? Sama juga if you put 2 lelaki termasuk seorang lelaki kaum Cina. Kenapa? Why would you want to do that? So the point to the media is don't put it in the headline because that is equivalent to sensationalizing or clickbaiting or indirectly saying that these guys are possibly they are going to do criminal things. So bila kita tengok media macam ni, you will see there will be more and more headlines saying the same thing. So tak heranlah kalau ada TikToker yang tak berapa bertanggungjawab tu make it content for there to be Rohingya hunters. So this is the kind of thing that we want to make sure we help to handle. Like it or not, our country accepts migrants and refugees. And yes, we have immigrants among us. That is also a problem that's systemic and structural juga. So we need to look at that. So number 1, content standards must avoid inflammatory, dehumanizing language. Dehumanizing language ni macam perkataan lambakan ataupun an infestation of refugees. Those words should be avoided. Secondly, contextualization requirements. Terms like illegal migrant, you can use it tapi kena ada contextualization and recognize the underlying factors of forced displacement or systemic barriers, and platform responsibilities. Now, the interesting part about this time punya content code review is that we actually have a social media platform among us, which was TikTok. So it's very easy for platforms to, of course, say that kita tak create content. So we shouldn't be responsible for these things. But we have discussed it among us, and they have also agreed that their responsibility is at the very least when those harmful representations are identified or flagged or reported, they have to take it down. So they've agreed to that lah. Secondly is OKU. Persons with disabilities dalam the 2022 content code ada dah banyak sebenarnya. But here we've clarified that the content must also respect the dignity, rights and full participation of PWDs. And then we put in inclusive terminology. In the old content code kita kata use neutral language. But semua orang tanya, neutral language ni apa sebenarnya? So we have come up with guidelines for inclusive language that should be published by this year. And this should probably help guide people better lah. And again, platforms need to be able to take down or address harmful misrepresentation when it's identified or reported. What can I share with you about this is satu yang cerita OKU berlesen tu. Another thing is, a lot of times for content when we talk about drama semua kan, OKU hanya di-add-on kan sebagai token. Meaning, dalam ramai-ramai dalam kelas tu ada seorang lah OKU. Sekadar nak tunjuk ada orang OKU. What we're trying to promote, especially for content creators, film directors, drama semua tu, full participation of PWDs. And you see this in a lot of Hollywood movies, some Europe movies, where they have main character pun boleh ada ketidakupayaan. But it's not the center of the story. They're just one of us. They just happen to have a disability. They also have a romantic problem or challenge, etc. So we're trying to encourage more content like that lah. Sebab kalau tengok local content, especially local Malay content, zaman dulu orang cacat ni digunakan sebagai karakter ataupun watak lawak. Selalunya lah. So we're trying to move beyond that to have them kalau boleh as a main character, just to show people that okay, you are one of us and should be portrayed as one of us. Next, child protection priority. This was a tough one lah, because I think you've seen a lot of situation where case young children were selling their own sexual photos to adults. You've seen children stabbing each other for reasons that we may not know. We've seen children exposed to pornography at as young as 7 years old. So a lot of things are supposed to be looked at when it comes to children and content. But the key is, if you look 20 years ago, this was a problem that we got. Cerita nunchucks. Puan Syaha, kena ingat lagi tak kes ni? Nunchucks was an issue for Astro. Masa tu I was still working in Astro. I worked in Astro for 11 years and this was one of my favorite cases. Nunchucks ni kisahnya pasal these two characters. Memang dia PL dia pelik sikit lah. Dia ya, dia macam pelik. But they're funny. Lagi dahsyat daripada Tom and Jerry. They're very strange. But it's funny and kids like it. Tetapi dia adalah adegan-adegan yang pelik. Contohnya yang I ingat, dia letak mustard atas slipper, terima makan. Lepas tu ada parent yang tulis pada Astro cakap, saya takut nanti anak saya ikut perangai ni. Tapi kita pelik juga kan, kalau anak you ikut perangai tu ada masalah lain sebenarnya. But this was the complaint that we got lah. Some of the complaints that we got. People were worried that kids would follow cartoon characters. Parents today, banyak lagi masalah yang dipikir. We worry about pedophiles on online gaming. We worry about teenage daughters who get cyberbullied and become depressed, suicidal ideation, teenage sons being exposed to extremist, misogynist content. Kadang-kadang macam group chats, sepatutnya untuk buat group school project, digunakan untuk share pornography and violent content. Some kids are tricked to share their own visuals. Kids are scammed through in-game purchases. Boys selling deepfakes of their female classmates to other people. And also dangerous online challenges. Dangerous online challenges ni is very hard to keep track because it keeps evolving. Contohnya ada online challenge dulu where kids were strangling themselves to get a high. Dia kena cekik diri dia sampai kata high, lepas tu cabut. Tapi there were so many cases locally and internationally where they died because they did it unsupervised. Dia tak buat dengan kawan, dia buat seorang-seorang. Another challenge that I can remember is, I forgot what it's called, but you can ambil shots of chili. And it has to be very, very pedas chili oil. So they chug it down and they record themselves lah. So these are trends and challenges that we may not know because we're not on TikTok, at least not their FYP. FYP mak, FYP bapak, sah lain. FYP mak bapak dengan FYP anak lagi lain. So it's very hard. So what we're doing is we're expanding child protection coverage. The reality is kita tak nak tengok hanya content yang target kanak-kanak. It has to be any content which is not just directed at, appealing to, or likely accessed by young audiences. Nak tak nak, when kids are online, they're not going to go to www.disney.com or Upin and Ipin. They will, but they will also go to places we go. They're on gaming platforms. Gaming platforms yang ada chat function, yang ada social features, yang ada microtransactions. They're on short form video or social apps where there also ada messaging, and a lot of it is commonly used by those under 18, but they are mingling with, socializing with adults over 8. And some of those adults pretend to be under 18. They're also in general content, walaupun classified U or PG, yang kita tak, then beyond that, characters or themes of presentation must look at how, if it's appealing to children, then you shouldn't include things yang tak sesuai untuk children. Contohnya, saya fikir K-pop Demon Hunter je lah tak. Minecraft. Contohnya Minecraft. Contohnya Roblox for gaming. It looks like it's meant for children, or at the very least it appeals to children. Diorang nak main. But the danger in those games are still there. They're still socializing and chats within the games. Any accessible place is, this protection applies where children can reach, not just children's content. So that is the biggest thing that we've done to expand the coverage. So standard senang. It has to be age appropriate. Themes, visuals, and language must be suitable for intended age groups, avoiding confusing, distressing, or misleading material. An example I can give you, cerita apa? Stranger Things, I think. That's Stranger Things. Stranger Things ni on Netflix, right? And it's a really good show. But from the very first season, you can tell that it will be appealing to young children juga. But even within the first episode, dah ada dah a very sexual scene. So these are the things that we're trying to encourage people. If you're doing something that is going to likely appeal to children, avoid those things which are inappropriate for children. Secondly, avoid harmful mimicry. Anything that contains dangerous behavior or unsafe practice, and this one kita include sexual harassment juga, because nak tak nak, kids these days are a lot more exposed than we were before. So ayat-ayat yang lucah, ayat-ayat yang flirting should not be something that we portray in content involving children. Promote positive values ni biasalah. Kalau boleh kita nak message of resilience, etc. And finally, expert consultation. If you're doing something on children or involving children, kalau boleh, we seek input from child development specialists. And also check on the media guidelines. Ni data privacy ni, this is for a lot of cases where if a child is using some platform, you cannot use their data to be profiled commercially unless you have user-enabled and verifiable parental consent obtained. So it has to be verifiable, and the default privacy should be default safe for kids. Ni harmful content. Yang ni susah sikit. So we've seen studies that show exposure to violent or discriminatory behavior can shape children. Zaman adik-adik I dulu pun diorang main Mortal Kombat. They played apa yang dia akan ada, yes, Street Fighter, those games kan. Kids are going to play that. They're definitely going to play that. So this rule says any violence in children's content must show real emotional and physical consequences for victims and perpetrators. So those tak include lah, those games. Sebab kalau you main game, you mati 4 kali boleh. You die, and then you alive again. So games would not be the target for this. This would be for content in terms of fictional content. The new prohibited categories, drug use, cannot. Sexual harassment, discriminatory content, and anything that encourages abusive or discriminatory behavior. So these are all trying to address the growing concerns about the influence of media on children's attitudes. Then, finally, platform responsibilities for child online safety. Community standards kena ada, clear rules protecting children. Moderation protocols, anything that's reported that's harmful to kids or flagged, they have to be immediate moderation measures. Visibility tools are for similar tools like reduce children's exposure to unsuitable material. And accessible reporting is, it has to have easy to use channels for parents to, or even children to lodge a complaint. These are the things that we need platforms to do. And this is YB Azalina punya Sexual Offences Against Children Act. What they did is, dulu kita panggil child pornography. Now that term child pornography is not encouraged anymore. Sebab some people watch pornography for entertainment. Some people watch pornography because of other reasons. Child pornography can never be mistaken for entertainment. It is clearly a crime. So that's why it's now called Child Sexual Abuse Materials, or CSAM. So there needs to be clear policies on child exploitation. Detection and blocking has to be high. These are all technical tools using URL or hash lists and international detection technologies. accessible reporting, and also swift responses. We expect all of our members to give prompt action on reports, have interim measures, and timely cooperation with authorities for CSAM content. Before we go to AI, one more question more.
Okay, another chance for the physical attendees, except for the one who has won. Just tahu tak boleh. All right, so the second question. When was the last major revision of the content code before 2025? A, 2015, B, 2018, C, 2022, and D, 2024. Yes, Puan Nadia. C, 22, correct. Ha, voucher sebenarnya tu.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, so 2022. All right, so this one is AI. This one expected lah. Tahun 2022, we didn't have ChatGPT, kita tak ada Gamma AI, kita tak ada, and all these things were not even considered. So now we have. And the great thing about AI is it really helps you be more efficient. For example, creating posters like that. You know, this is all AI generated juga. Tapi it still needs human talent to design it. But the problem with AI, as with any technology, is it can be exploited or abused. And because it's AI, because of the speed, it can be done at an unprecedented scale. So you see deepfakes, synthetic child sexual abuse materials, misinformation can spread super fast. So we're trying to address this by an entirely new AI provision. So we've detected 6 critical threat categories from AI. Satu, misinformation, disinformation. Then there's harmful content targeting vulnerable groups. For example, in India, hari tu, they detected a lot of AI-generated imagery to promote Islamophobia. And then there's AI-generated system. I don't even have to tell you about it. I think everybody saw the news about the young boy who created child sexual abuse materials of his friends' crushes for money. Deepfakes for blackmail and extortion. Even I think locally, our leaders had several of these deepfakes videos. Online gender-based violence also is very easy for people now. If they don't like you online, they can generate a nude photo of you and disseminate it. And it looks so real, it's very hard for you to protest against it. And even if you protest against it, nobody wants nude images of themselves online. And finally, accountability gaps. Bila kita key in a prompt and then they produce the content, siapa salah? Kita ataupun AI? So that's the question we want to have answered with our new provisions. So this is quite long, tapi I've summarized it for the slides. We need to make sure that everything or all content using AI still has the same principles of transparency, accountability, and truth as applied to human-generated content. So the first thing is labeling requirements. If you use AI-generated content and you share it publicly or to large groups, then you have to clearly identify that it is AI-generated content. The exception is if you use AI for private consumption, you're not making money from it, you're just making you look like a Marvel superhero to your group of friends, that's fine. If it is minor AI contributions, contohnya translating, contohnya proofreading, contohnya if you don't want to read all this, you put it in GPT and say, summarize for me in one sentence. That one is fine. And if you use it to a small group of individuals, macam I cakap tadi, but then it is shared to a public or larger group of individuals, these exceptions don't apply anymore, yeah? Because there's case law to show that if you share something privately, but there is likelihood of it going far, you're still going to be responsible for the content. And again, platform functions, they have to provide self-labeling functions for AI-generated material. Prohibited use of AI, this is all, I don't even think I have to read it because it's really very much sama dengan everything else in the content code. You cannot do anything which is exploitative or harmful, etc. Copyright compliance is also important. So if you reproduce, modify, or replicate copyrighted materials for profit, including a person's likeness or voices, you must comply with IP laws. Contohnya, let's say you pergi cuti, you go to a place where nobody really goes, and it's a really nice picture of you. Then they take that picture, the AI generate it to put their hotel kat belakang, and then to put it in the hotel brochure. Cannot. They have to get your consent for that, and that is considered a breach of copyright. Human accountability is what I said just now is, using AI is not a defense. You cannot say, saya tak buat poster tu. Let's say poster tu melampau. The poster is hate speech or the poster is fake. You can say, I didn't create that poster. I just prompted. It's ChatGPT's fault. Tak boleh. The human remains central to ethical digital practices. So anyone who manually share, upload, or post artificial or AI-generated content remains responsible for the content shared, uploaded, or posted. That's for AI. Next one is advertising standards. Let me just tell you, 2022, the biggest change that we did was in advertising. So this one is just adding on a little bit to that lah. But before that, this one was recently announced by China. If you can just scan the code and let me know. In China, influencers, if they want to talk about medicine or law or finance or education, they have to prove they have official training. I didn't check the QR code. I hope it goes to the right form. But they have to prove that they can talk about it. Sekarang ni banyak orang panggil apa? I tak tahu kata ni tak baik ke baik. Palatau is a bad word or not? It's not a bad word. Okay. Tak. Apa maksud dia sebenarnya? Buat pandai-pandai sendiri. Pala tahu. Oh, kepala tahu. So it's not bad lah. Know it all. Okay, so there are a lot of palataus out there. I dah boleh guna sekarang sebab dah tahu. A lot of palataus out there yang tak ada law degree pun, but they're giving legal opinions. Or dia tak pernah sentuh enjin kereta dia pun, tapi when there's a plane crash, they know more than the aeronautic engineers. So China is saying, if you want to talk about these topics, you have to prove that you can. You're qualified. Should we introduce the same role? Let me know. I nampak banyak heads nodding already in this room, so I assume yes. Okay. So the enhanced advertising standards tak banyak this time around, but the biggest one is we are covering advertisements targeting Malaysian market, even if they're not in Malaysia. So this would include all those online marketplace operators. How are we going to implement this? We will need to have MCMC's helpline nanti. Professional verification, this is something like the rule just now, tetapi it's purely for testimonials. So let's say you tengah jual barang and you get some doctor to verify, actually they're not supposed to lah, but let's say you get a professional to give a testimonial, whatever they say has to be accurate and recognized from their professional bodies. Guarantee claims, this is just where we extended it to cover employment guarantees and sponsorships and training. Sebab that one was not included in the previous one. And finally, all-in pricing, certain things that you nak advertise tapi you tak dapat the exact pricing, you just have to state this clearly so that you don't mislead the consumers. But more importantly, I think this one pun I tak payah nak cakap sangat, but because it's transparency in advertising, this one kalau you guna affiliate marketing or you are an influencer who's being paid to sell products, you need to make people know. You cannot pretend that you really like that product and then sebenarnya you're paid to do it. So there needs to be transparency there. But this is the part that I want to go deeper into, that's children and advertising protection. Sebabnya sekarang, we see that kids are no longer just passive consumers. They are actual consumers. Parents nowadays, banyak dia punya purchasing power dah diberikan kepada anak-anak. The decision to buy what also, anak-anak dah buat. So we need to look at how when we feature children in ads juga. Contohnya, we cannot have products or activities which is potentially dangerous without adult supervision. This one, there was an ad where they nak jual kids vitamins. But the ad showed the kid just eating the vitamins like popcorn. Cannot. Actually, for kids of a certain age, you nak kasih vitamin tu pun mak bapak yang kena kasih. That's why it's like the safety proof, the child proof covers. Activities that are illegal for children, smoking, gambling, vaping. You think this is common sense, but we've seen these ads. They have used school students to promote vaping products. Children indulging in excessive eating or drinking, ni sebab of the mukbang culture. So, no. And then sensationalizing, stereotyping, or exploiting disabled, marginalized, or vulnerable children, point to exploit emotions of public, tak boleh. Using children who use language that is vulgar, obscene, indecent, or inappropriate pun tak boleh. And children engaging in hazardous or dangerous activities. Now, I just want to focus on sensationalizing, stereotyping, exploiting vulnerable children. There was a very good question that we got at the last town hall. They asked, how about bila charity organizations dia tunjuk kanak-kanak di Gaza, right? To get people to sympathize, to give more donations. That's fine. Tapi it's also the way it's done. If you exploit the scenes to the point that you menggunakan kanak-kanak itu sebagai a conduit for sympathy, like long focus, dramatic music, etc. Dah nampak dah you're going beyond asking for sympathy but demanding it, then that's the line that you cross. This one, online platform responsibilities. This is where we are seeing how online platforms are not just neutral channel anymore. They are active players. They shape what we see, what we share, what we believe online. They really have an impact on public discussion and access to information and user safety. So we now update the code to cover both content creators and those who provide access to the content, whether through current or future technologies across fixed and mobile platforms. So this is a technology neutral approach. So hopefully later kalau ada hologram ke, ada multiverse ke, this should cover it all. So 4 pillars of enhanced platform accountability: content takedown, clear obligations for removing harmful material within defined timelines and a transparent process, monitoring, systematic oversight of content to identify and address harmful material proactively using available tech, AI labeling, like I mentioned earlier, and also privacy protection. But this is a part that we had a bit of a discussion about: content monitoring balance. Section 3.3 of the Communications and Multimedia Act is clear. Tak boleh ada censorship of the internet. No pre-publication censorship of the internet. An analogy to this is if we expect the post office to open every mail before it's sent. Tak logic, cannot be done. But they are expected to use effective and proportionate proactive moderation tools, and they must act swiftly when harmful or illegal content is clearly visible or where reasonable tools are available to deal with it. Now, here is where I need to let you know, dalam Communications and Multimedia Act punya pindaan hari tu, under Section 213 on our content code, they added one clause to say that we need to include provisions on end user tools. So all of this will be detailed out in a subcode that we will be developing next year. And then here it is, empowering user control and digital literacy. We need to make sure that users have the ability to filter and manage content they access, and also support things like campaign internet selamat lah, digital literacy goals. So in a nutshell, there's a lot more that's in the new content code, but these are the key ones. The ones that I didn't mention are provisions against piracy, stricter consent rules, and a few others. But the whole point of this whole TeaTalk is to actually let you all know that we all have our own roles to play. Bila kita tengok masalah macam kes tikam-tikam dekat sekolah, or whatever cases lah, let's use the cases in schools. The argument is always, whose fault is it? Kerajaan akan marah, bukan marah lah, let's turn it away. People will blame the government. Parents will blame MCMC. Actually, MCMC semua orang blame lah, kesian korang kan. But the fact of the matter is, semua akan nak cari who to blame. It's MCMC's fault, it's government's fault, it's the parents' fault, it's the teacher's fault, it's the school's fault, it's the YB Fadlina's fault. Everybody is finding finger pointing. But the fact of the matter is, it is everyone's role, because of the fact that we all have our own circle of authority and influence. Contohnya, like the stabbing case, people were talking, why was a child allowed to purchase combat knives online? That was one point of intervention that could have been stopped. So this is what we want to ketengahkan lagi as a content forum. It's never one person's fault, but it is everyone's responsibility. And that's why, because you're all content stakeholders, and because we need your opinions on what we should be adding or what we've added, you think there's something that needs to be helped with, we want you to come hefty and please fill in the survey, if you want to call that. Ada 26 questions only. And if you have any questions you want to ask me while you're filling it up, anyone online also, if you want to ask, please just let us know. And we'll be very happy to take you through it. But your answers will be included as respondents to our public consultation. We will publish a public consultation report. If you want to remain anonymous, pun boleh. But it is a way for us to make sure that we are policy making in full transparency. And right now, I welcome everyone's feedback. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Madiha.
Sorry,
Kita
Mawar ada
ada,
lagi satu soalan.
lagi satu last soalan untuk physical attendees.
One more goodie bag to give away and another voucher. Okay, so I see that we have ramai ni online ni 122. We hope that you're able to scan the QR code and participate in the public consultation exercise. All right, question for the physical attendees. Last but not least, what law gives CMCF and the content code its authority? A. Online Safety Act 2024. B. Communications and Multimedia Commission Act 1998. C. Consumer Protection Act 1999. And D. Communications and Multimedia Act 1998. Sorry? D, betul. Communications and Multimedia Act 1998. Alright, thank you. Ada soalan kan online? I'll pass to Lady MC.
So kita pergi kepada Q&A session. So kita ada satu soalan online. Hi Madiha, soalan, have the amendments or definition to the CMA on grossly offensive come into force? Or will the
Yes.
present offences remain status quo?
Yes, I believe if anyone here is from MCMC Legal can help me out. But yes, it's already come into force. Section 233. And what was that? What was the second part of the question?
Or will the present offences remain status
Yes.
quo?
If I'm not mistaken, it's not retrospective. So the present cases will be tried based on jelit lah contohnya. Future cases, higher threshold jelit melampau.
All right. Is there any other questions from online or our physical attendees? Okay. Tak payah.
Bull. Ah. 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 Okay, soalan dia, ada tak orang komplain pasal kandungan kat Astro yang tunjuk kehidupan artis, semua kehidupan seharian dia lah. Lepas tu anak-anak penonton pun nak jadi macam tu. Kita tak dapat lagi lah. Tak sure Astro dapat ke tak, tapi saya nampak ada yang berdebat pasal tu online. Tapi itu saya rasa quite standard lah. Itulah masalahnya sekarang dengan bukan saja Astro tapi social media. Kita ada masalah perbandingan yang terlalu ketara. It's so easy. Anak perempuan dia nak apa tu sebenarnya? Dia nak sama macam anak orang tu, betul, faham. So far tak ada lagi lah. Tapi kalau tuan nak komplain, boleh je kita check dengan Astro. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Online, ada questions ke? While waiting, ada lagi? Okay.
Yang tu yang dia tanya pasal budak yang kena kelar tu. Sebab kita kalau tengok police report tak ada lagi tulis apa sebab, what was the cause, motif tak ada. Tetapi kalau kita tengok perbualan dekat internet, ramai dah yang blame, ada yang blame Roblox, ada yang blame TikTok. Tapi semua ni selalunya kita tengok speculation yang terlalu cepat sebab investigation pun belum kan. Sama macam kes yang dekat sekolah hari tu yang stabbing tu. Terus dia kata sebab putus cinta. Ada yang kata sebab kena reject. Padahal dia bercakap dengan perempuan tu pun tidak. Ada yang cakap dia ada mental health issue tapi sebenarnya tidak. So these are all the speculation yang berlaku secepat mungkin before even investigation. So far kalau tak silap saya lah, yang paling last saya tengok semalam, tak ada lagi update atas motif. Tapi sekarang hebatlah yang diperkatakan Roblox lah yang menjadi punca. Betul.
Betul, sebab ada comments dekat online juga, the sentences or something that boy said yang benda tu reflect dekat game tu sebenarnya.
Yes. So for us, we're always quite careful Sebab we've seen ramai orang di luar sana kadang-kadang dia buat teori masing-masing satu hal. Tapi dia boleh buat teori dia tu nampak sangat kredibel. Dia akan kata dia adalah guru kaunselor kat sekolah tu atau mak saudara budak tu dan sebagainya. Dan kita pun kalau kita cepat sangat nak share, bila benda tu tiba-tiba proven to be salah, kita lambat sikit nak share yang benda tu salah. So better not share first lah.
Ada soalan, when is the last day to answer the survey?
7 November kan? Yeah, 7 November is last unless we extend
7
it.
November.
Yeah.
Soalan seterusnya daripada saya.
Yeah.
QR code yang untuk survey yang ni dengan tadi yang QR code yang untuk yang China punya regulation tu, kita boleh dapat dekat mana selain daripada during this TeaTalk? Ada tak dekat
for this one pergi kat website.
Website.
Website terus contentforum.my, you akan immediately be brought to the public consultation punya page. Yang poll China tadi di dalam deck ni je sebenarnya.
Dalam
ni.
Dalam
special
slide.
untuk MCMC je sebab benda tu baru. I belum tunjuk.
Oh, okay. Special to MCMC meaning
nak tunjuk balik. Okay, yang ni website and social media. Actually yang China pun kita boleh letak kat social media jugalah.
Okay.
So follow us at My Content Forum.
Dia punya account dia ialah My Content Forum. Okay. Follow at My Content Forum and then please help us to answer. We as Malaysian juga help us ourselves to by answering this survey and also the other previous QR code, because I think the other previous QR code pun important because we also need to have a credible and verified people, you know, creating those contents, because memang sekarang ni yang unverified punya memang nampak sangat credible.
Betul.
Betul. Okay, so we have a few questions online. Apakah komen Puan tentang EKYC dan had umur 16 tahun? Adakah akan berkuat kuasa?
Itu daripada media ke? I dapat soalan tu hari-hari tau. Siapa tu? For EKYC, Content Forum punya position simple. Kita memang menyokong semua usaha untuk membantu mengurangkan ataupun untuk make sure kanak-kanak tidak ada di social media lah. Sebab actually media sosial ni hanya untuk 13 ke atas. So sekiranya ia menjadi polisi untuk 16 ke bawah pun tak boleh, kita sokong, tapi cara ia dibuat sama ada EKYC, age verification ke age assurance semua tu kita tak boleh nak komen sangat lah. Itu bukan bidang kepakaran kami. We leave it to our experts in MCMC and kementerian to decide for us.
Okay. Next one, how do we regulate online games and games on other
Good question.
On other platforms such as PlayStation, PC games, smartphone games, and so on?
Yes, that's a very good question. But actually around the world, there is effort to do this. And the way they do it is they want to go after the stores. So maknanya online games yang available for downloads on Steam ke, on Play Store ke, App Store, wherever, they want it to be done at that point. So maknanya kalau benda tu dah kata age 13 plus or age 18 plus, if that device is being used by a child, dia tak boleh download pun. It won't even appear on the library. That's what they're looking for. Malaysia belum explore lagi benda ni, but this is something that for us at the Content Forum, we're keeping close look lah to see if it's something that we should recommend.
Tapi I second that because they shouldn't even see it, because bila dia orang nampak walaupun game tu is actually a violent game, tapi dia orang nampak, dia orang excited, even for a 4-year-old, they are curious, they want to download it.
Ya, betul. Yep.
Okay, alright. Thank you Pak Mawar. Okay, follow us, follow dekat social media account tu ya, at My Content Forum.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, to answer the both surveys. Okay, Content Forum is also on Facebook, X, TikTok and Instagram. Okay, any other questions? Saya ada soalan.
Yes.
Masa awal, dekat slide yang awal tadi, ada masa tu tengah bagi contoh berkenaan dengan Trump during ASEAN.
Yes.
And I also noticed that during this ASEAN trip, there's a lot of comments also from netizen yang mengatakan tentang the prison period of our PMX dengan persamaan dengan Trump. So adakah benda tu salah dalam mana-mana code ke, ataupun is there another way that we should have said it ke, macam mana?
Yang said tu tuan punya badan sendiri. PMX sendiri yang buat lawak tu. PMX said, if you recall correctly, he said, we have something like, we have a lot of things in common. I went to prison and you almost did.
You are almost there.
Yeah. So if people are discussing that, then tak ada sangat lah.
Oh, kalau
Ah,
dia yang
Sebab
komen, lepas
Tuan
tu
Penyimpanan,
orang
ya, kita
then should
cakap
be fine.
pasal benda tu yang berlaku. So let's say PMX didn't say it and it was an AI
Mm-mm.
generated video, itu lain
Mm-mm.
cerita. But because Tuan Penyimpanan sendiri, our PMX yang cakap, benda tu memang confirm akan jadi perbualan.
So
Tapi
kalau
kita tengoklah how far that discussion is lah.
Oh, okay. So
Mm.
kalau macam content tu ialah pasal Trump sahaja, and then the other people online comment juga relate it to the PMX punya prison terms,
Yep.
is that wrong?
No,
No.
because
Okay.
PMX himself opened that topic.
Okay.
Yes.
Faham? Okay.
Actually, if it's discussing something that is factual, I think ada satu slide tu. If it's about something that's factual, it's substance, it's okay. Boleh.
Alright.
Tapi
Okay.
cara kita bercakap tu kena tengok jugalah. Kalau cara kita bercakap tu is hate speech against a certain group of people or hate speech against PMX as a protected characteristic Malay or Muslim, tu lain. So, talking about it in general, public commentary, boleh. How you talk about it, kalau masuk ke borderline hate speech or hate propaganda, dan jadi tak boleh lah.
Okay. Faham? Faham? Okay. Yes. Your colleagues are also more than welcome to answer the
Oh
survey.
yes, of course. Everyone.
Everyone,
Colleagues,
the whole of
families,
Malaysia.
yes. Malaysians above 18, please go
Mm-mm.
ahead. If you know of anyone, let's say you ada NGO ataupun you belong to, you're lecturing at a university and you want us to do the same thing for them, pun kita boleh. We're doing town halls.
Just ask them to go to the social media account.
Yes.
And then for them to scan the QR code dekat situ ya, at my content forum.
The link situ, ya.
Okay, everyone. So, is there any last question maybe from online or physical before we move on to our online quiz session? Ada ke? Tak ada? Physical tak ada? Online? Online ada? Tak ada? Okay, alright. So, thank you so much, Pak Madiha. Thank you so much for sharing with us. Oh ya, saya nak tanya, yang buku ni kami boleh ambil ke untuk physical? Boleh. Okay. Thank you so much. Because the contents are very interesting. And then untuk kami baca in details, for us to be much more aware and adapt to it, it's much more better kalau kita ada. Okay. Oh, okay. All right. Thank you so much. So dekat physical, we are very lucky. You guys can take a copy of a book each for our reference, yeah? Okay, everyone. So let's move on to our online Kahoot quiz. So online Kahoot quiz ni is actually designed for us to create more engagement for our knowledge sharing session. So for this TeaTalk public session, this online Kahoot is open to all. Even the public can participate. However, the winner must be only from MCMC staff sahaja. So the online Kahoot quiz, dia ada 5 questions only. And we are going to pick the top 5 winners where each one of you will win RM30 Touch and Go e-wallet. So let me share the screen ya, kejap . Okay, scan the QR code. MCMC staff, remember to key in your MCMC staff ID. So we open to all permanent contract, intern, ace apprentice. For intern, put in your full name and then /intern. So semua orang boleh masuk, tapi pemenang top 5 hanyalah among MCMC staff only ya. So I apologize to the public because this is due to our no gift policy. Tapi nak masuk to participate just for the fun of it is fine. Okay everyone, scan ya QR code and then masukkan MCMC staff ID. Kita ada 5 soalan sahaja. Okay, semua alright? Ready Semua dah masuk Physical dah Okay, we are going to start. 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, kita start. Alright, jawapan biru. Okay, second question. Yeah. Betul-betul. Saya pun agak-agak merah jugalah. Betul lah. Walaupun saya tak boleh masuk sebab sekretariat. Okay. Okay, third question. Yang mana jawapannya? Yes, that's correct. The vulnerable communities. Okay, ready. Next question. Jawapan biru. What's annoying and what's offensive? That's so cute, bukan stuff. Okay. Okay, last question. Ready, everyone? Yes, it protects free speech but not hate speech. Okay, so jom kita tengok who's the top 5 winners. So for MCMC staff, if let's say that the among 5 ni ada yang from the public, it's okay. Don't worry. We will contact you via email to all the top 5 MCMC winners for us to transfer your winnings to you. Okay? Okay, semuanya MCMC staff. Alright. So congrats to all the MCMC staff for the online quiz Kahoot and also to our physical attendees. Congrats to all of you. So okay everyone, that's all our sharing session for today. So I would like to say deepest thank you. Thank you so much to our speaker, Puan Mediha Mahmud, CEO of the Content Forum, for a very, very enlightening, knowledge added value to our sharing session today. It's really, really a knowledge value added to me. And I'm really, really surprised, and also some of the new knowledge and information is also very surprising and also makes me want to learn more about it. So that's why the book is very important to me. I can see the book in front of me here. So thank you very much for giving it to us, the physical attendees. So Puan Mediha, thank you so much again. And we hope to see more sharing session from the content forum next year, perhaps? Ya, Pak Madiha, boleh kan? Alright. Thank you so much. So we hope to see you again next year. And also special thanks to Puan Kaniza Khalid. Thank you so much, Puan. And that's all, everyone. We hope to see you again in our knowledge sharing session. We have the next one on the 12th of November. Okay, that's internal session only. So, okay, everyone, online attendees, thank you so much for joining us. See you again in our next session on the 12th of November, inshallah. Bye bye and take care. To our physical attendees, let's all go to the main stage to take a group photo. Jom ya, kita pergi kat stage dekat group foto, jangan keluar dulu. Lepas dah ambil group foto, baru kita boleh keluar ambil makan. Seal. The front door is seal. Okay everyone, thank you, bye-bye.